It's time!
What's up, Schmoedown fans? Welcome to episode number 12 of the Schmoedown Rundown. My name is Aaron. I am your host, as always, and I have a good panel today. Joining me up first, he is the king of the ding. He is Paul Wolf. Welcome, sir.
What's up, everybody? How you doing?
There it is. The ding is alive and well. Also joining us this week, his first time. He's a first-timer, popping his rundown cherry. It is Chris Dohmen, all the way from Minnesota. Sir, how's it going?
I am doing very well, sir. Thank you very much for having me on.
Of course. All right, let's jump into the Schmoedown news this week. Kind of another slow news week. The only real news we had was that the Wolves of Steel have an opponent in 2017, and it is Team Tough Beats, Jonathan and Perry. Now, I don't want to speculate right now. We'll save that for later. But, Chris, I want to get your thoughts. What do you think of Wolves of Steel, Tough Beats in 2017? Good matchup? Not sure. What do you think?
Well, simply based on the performances given by both teams, here, I don't see this going well, actually, for the Wolves of Steel. I see this being the time where Tough Beats really shows that they are a force to be reckoned with in the league. While, sure, you can make the argument that their first match was just a no-brainer because Double Jeopardy kind of crapped the bed, with all due respect. You're throwing them into the fire against a team that on paper works great, but in execution has not. So,
fair point. Paul, what do you think of it, sir?
Well, obviously the Wolves of Steel have the advantage by experience, being there for a long time. You've got obviously Mark Riley being a former champ, and teaming up with Clark, who had a good run in the singles division, and then obviously teaming up on paper looking like a force to be reckoned with, but then you see kind of a mediocre debut with their team, and then eking out a win. So they're about that 500 team coming in, and you've got Tough Beats that big old rookie coming in, all full of fire and blowing everybody away and impressing everybody with their teamwork. So I mean, I honestly, looking at it, it could shock me that Wolves of Steel beats them based on the fact that they've had more experience, but looking at what Tough Beats did and their teamwork and how they just rapid fired, like they knew everything during that time, I'm thinking Tough Beats probably will take this one.
I see it as kind of like it's a win-lose for the Wolves of Steel, man. If they win, that's great. They're back on track. But if they lose, you kind of got to think that this team may separate. Because it hasn't been that successful so far. Yeah, they beat the Wangers, whoop-de-doo. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy win for them either. So you kind of got to think, with Riley and Clark being as strong as they are in singles, if they do lose this match, maybe it's time to separate. That's just my thoughts. That's just what I think. But let's move on. Let's get out of the news. Let's jump into the singles recap this week. We had two debuting competitors. It was Ashley the Robinson versus Mike the Killer Kalinowski. And it went down a little something like this. In round one, Ashley got 1 point, 1 of 6. Kalinowski, 4 of 6 for 4 points. In the second round, Robinson took 90s, goes 2 of 4 for 2 points. Kalinowski, 3 of 4, equaling 5 points. He also had 2 steals for another 2 points. Ashley v. Robinson, unfortunately, scores no points in round 3. And Mike Kalinowski TKOs Ashley v. Robinson 11-3. Paul, I'm going to kick this off to you, sir. What did you think of this match? What are your feelings?
I felt so bad for Ashley. I did. All the hype coming in, knowing such movie buffs as an Inman, a personal friend of hers, of course, and coming in, I had Ashley winning, but just sitting there and just the questions she got, and hearing comments from people saying, how dare she not know this? How dare she not know that? She said it herself in the match that she was barely alive for the 90s. And, so a lot of the questions, and I know you and I had a conversation, Aaron, about this, is, her questions were not in her wheelhouse. And sure. She just, didn't know some of the ones that somebody, like you and I might know. And, she's got her interests, and she's going to be in the Inner Geekdom Championship at the Spectacular, which all the questions are within her wheelhouse. You saw her come out, you saw her with the sword, you saw her with the music, the cape. All of that. That she is the quote unquote, she's a geek. She knows that kind of information. Just the questions she got, it didn't come across very well, because again, that wasn't her strengths, and it showed with 3 points. And Mike, the debut he had, 11 points is, it's not low. It's the middle, because he didn't have to do the round 3. He didn't really have to answer any questions there. So you don't see that potential. I know a lot of people on in the Facebook posts or in our YouTube comments are like, that's really low and all that. I'm like, well, you don't have the full potential. You don't have to do a round 3 if the numbers aren't there. So we don't know what his other knowledge is, because we just literally scratched the surface. And I applaud the character coming out with the glasses and the gloves, that whole thing. And I'm not sure if it was on accident or on purpose, but having the Winter Soldier music coming out, and Kristian pointed that out too. And I'm not sure if that was a dig at whoever did the music, but being the DC guy, he came out to a Marvel theme. I don't know if that was ballsy or if that was on purpose or what that was. So I wouldn't mind if anybody knows what happened there. I just would love to know if that was, like I said, on accident or on purpose. But overall, Mike showed a lot of promise for the future, and I can't wait to see what more we see from him coming up in 2017.
Chris, what did you think of it?
Well, the people who have been, frankly speaking, not nice in the comments section, something to keep in mind. I'd like to see how she would have done had she gotten questions that were more in her wheelhouse. She just hit bad luck. Unfortunately, this was like a reverse Finstock situation where he seems to always get the luck, and this time she just could not luck out. And going back to what Paul said about Kalinowski with the 11 points, that was 11 points in 2 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty impressive. So let's say he had gotten all 3 of his round 3 questions. That's 20 points. So you're going to tell me that is not still impressive for the win that he had? I don't buy that for a second, man. It was still a good match, and props to Ashley for coming out to the Stargate SG-1 theme. Oh, I was so happy about that.
Yeah, that completely went over my head. I saw it in the comments. I was like, I don't know what that means. So, it's great. That's great. And I'll reiterate the point. Yeah, the questions were not in her wheelhouse. We'll see how she does in the Inner Geekdom Championship. I still think she'll be fine there. No worries. But we got to face facts. Let's get down to the facts. Get down to the brass tacks. First of all, Mike had a question about Mean Girls, and I am an unapologetic Mean Girls fan. To steal a line from John Schnepp, I think it's an incredible film. But he stumbled on it. He didn't get it wrong, but he kind of it took him a minute. I was like, dude, Mean Girls. Like, that's just me anyway. But unfortunately, it was a bad debut for Ashley. As a matter of fact, I don't mean to hammer the point home, but it is the lowest debut in this iteration of the Schmoedown, excuse me. Only Humberto Gonzalez, he had 4, and Ashley had 1 less at 3. So it wasn't a great debut for her. I don't mean to pile on, but that's the facts. It just wasn't a good day for her. Then again, I look at it this way also. You know who else lost their first Schmoedown match? John Roca. You know who else? Matt Nost. These two are champions, and they lost their first match. So it's not like you can't judge someone's overall Schmoedown portfolio after 1 match. It's just not fair that way. I'm sure Ashley will be fine down the road. It was a tough match, tough comment section. People were absolutely hammering her. I feel like it became more of a match about it wasn't about Mike winning the match. It was about Ashley losing the match. And I don't like that. It's kind of like like in UFC when it was Anderson Silva versus Chris Weidman. Chris Weidman came in and he knocked out Anderson Silva and he won the championship. But it wasn't about Chris Weidman winning. It was about Anderson Silva losing and how could this happen and where does he go from here? And that's how I felt about this. I feel like Mike's getting overshadowed because Ashley's performance wasn't, up to snuff, if you will. But I mean, do you have a problem with that, Paul? Do you feel like it's more about Ashley losing as opposed to Mike winning?
Yeah. I mean, she came in, everyone knew her over Mike, and everyone had her pegged to win. Everybody had the hype came in, and then she didn't have that strong enough showing. And so I completely concur with that is they're showing it where she lost it and not Mike winning it. I mean, Mike was strong. I mean, he played the game. There was no manipulating. There was no, strategy. It's just he came out flat out beat her. And it wasn't that Ashley lost it. It's just Mike played a better game. But I think that's what happened with all the people out there rooting for Ashley because they know her from all her shows that she does. I think people just got let down by it. And obviously, as we know, let her have it, unfortunately.
Yeah, Chris, am I off base here? Are you in my line of thinking?
No, you guys summed up my thoughts pretty much perfectly. I really am saddened that so many people just kept re-drilling. These things happen, okay? Yeah, sometimes you have a not great game, like what happened in the fan league we're all a part of. In my second match, I choked, but that happens. You know what? It's a simple matter of moving forward and how to prepare for that.
I'm sure Ashley will be fine going forward. Mike, great debut for him. Like you said, it could have gone up to 20. It was a good game for Mike. Ashley, 25% of her questions correct. Mike with 70%. That's a pretty damn good debut, and he didn't even answer all the questions. So I'll be definitely interested to see where Mike goes from here. And I mean, I'm even more interested now, actually, honestly, to see Ashley in the Inner Geekdom Championship. And we'll just go from that point there. Chris, I want to kick it back to you. After seeing Ashley in this matchup, what do you think of her chances now in the Inner Geekdom Championship? Has your expectations waned a little bit, or are you still kind of on board with her?
I am still very much on board with her, although in total honesty, who do I predicting winning that thing? I'm going to say either Johns or Burnett, but I'm definitely excited to see what she can bring to that match, because I think she can prove to be one hell of a competitor. And from what I've seen of Geek History Lesson, like there's no way that she will, have this bad of luck in the Inner Geekdom Championship. So I'm still fully on board.
Paul, what do you think? Still on board?
Yeah, obviously. Because again, the questions she received in this matchup wasn't something that she is strong in. And obviously she can rattle off Lord of the Rings, like by memory. I mean, other people can quote Star Wars by memory. Other people can quote Godfather by memory. I mean, that's her interest. You can't fault her for an interest. I mean, you can't dig her on not knowing certain questions that she might not be a fan of or watch. I mean, some people just have it when it comes to all around trivia, but in this case, she's the Lord of the Rings, she's the DC, she's the Marvel, she's got that in her corner. So do I think she's going to win it? I don't think so, but she will have a very strong performance, and I think she might come out as a fan favorite after that is over. That's just my prediction.
It will be a nice redemption story for her. I hope she gets back on track. She seems like the nicest person. I really enjoy seeing her on Heroes, and whenever she kind of pops up in the Collider universe, I do really enjoy her. And once again, I don't want to make it sound like I'm hammering her, but I mean, let's face facts, it wasn't a good debut. So
now, correct me if I'm wrong, but this was the first time that we actually got to see the full peanut gallery in a Schmoedown. I just want to quickly say that I think this is actually honestly great, because let's say you get a really tough question that a person may or may not know, and you watch that reaction of the audience, and it gets you even more hyped up. So I don't know whose idea that officially was, but that was genius in my opinion. What do you guys quick think about that?
If I may, I'll even second that even shows past when we talked about the rundown, the little extra things they've been doing, like putting the camera close up to the wheel, and maybe and that the couple shots we had of just Roca freaking out over the real rejects. This time it was. You panned over to the jury, if you will. That's what I kind of call them, the jury, and see everybody, all the competitors that have either been in it or have been on the show, just laughing and joking around and stuff like that. So I really liked that, and it was true. What Harloff said is there's at least about 20 people watching, and we actually got to see that and the martini glass vest of Macuga's that I really like. It was really cool seeing that, and then. The other point that I did also forget too is everybody bringing up the fact that there were 2 spinner's choice categories on the wheel. I think somebody kind of you're just really nitpicking in this case. So it was an accident. Oops, let it go. No big deal. And guess what? It didn't land on him anyway, so it doesn't matter. Move on.
Yeah. Who cares? I don't care about that at all.
Right.
And just to go back to the fan cam real quick, fan cam kicks ass. Keep
Absolutely.
doing that. That's amazing. That's great. Yes, exactly. Even and I'm just spitballing here, like I don't have any pull in this show, but if they had an idea of doing like maybe a picture in picture at some point of like maybe just a small corner is like the crowd, or maybe towards the end just show the crowd in the corner, I think that would be an extra added step. But hey, I don't make the rules. I don't control the show, produce anything. I'm just saying. I digress. All right, let's jump. I think now we'll jump into the singles match number 2 this week. There was no tag team match. Sorry, guys, if you were expecting that. It was the number 6 rated contender, the Sneider, Jeff Sneider, a friend of the show, versus the internet sensation known as Chris Stuckmann in his Schmoedown debut. It was a great, tough, close match. In round 1, we had Sneider going 5 of 6 for 5 points, Stuckmann 3 of 6 grabbing 3 points. In round 2, Sneider got coming of age on the second spin, only getting 1 question for 2 points. Stuckmann grabbing Tim Burton and sticking with it. He got 2 of 4 for 4 points. Stuckmann got 1 steal for 2 points, and Jeff Sneider got 1 steal, equaling 1 point. In round 3, it was Jeff Sneider getting 4 points, missing the 5-pointer. Stuckmann in round 3 getting 4 points. He did not have to answer his 5-pointer, and Chris Stuckmann in his debut defeats Jeff Sneider 13-12. Sneider now drops to 2-2, and Stuckmann goes to 1-0. Chris, what are your thoughts, man? Did you like Stuckmann's debut? What did you think of the Sneider? Tell me all about it.
As a longtime fan of Chris Stuckmann, who also was sort of my gateway into getting into the Schmoes, funny enough, this was a great match to watch. Yeah, in terms of the scoring, yeah, it was very back and forth. It was very close. Low scoring, sure, if you want to be a dick and put it that way. I prefer to just say it that it was close. And to me, that's honestly what was more important, is that both of them gave a fight that still showcased their talents, but allowed for a little room for improvement on both parties, because, they both got stolen points off of each other. Yeah, of course, part of me was, the fanboy in me was happy that Stuckmann got the win, but at the same time, I really wish Sneider had hit that 5er, so that way when, or that Sneider had hit the 5er, that way when Stuckmann would have potentially hit that 5er, it would have been awesome. And this is just me personally, but I always hope it comes down to literally the last question available, so that way I can know whether or not I would have scored a perfect game in my head, because playing along at home, I only missed 1 question.
Paul, what did you think of it, man?
Well, my friend Jack here.
Oh, man.
Got a little Jack Skellington guy here. Honestly, I'll tell you this. Go back to the tape last week. Who picked Stuckmann? That would be me.
Yeah, you sure did.
I was in his corner the whole time. Akron represent. Like I said, 5 miles down the road from me. Awesome job. Completely just proud of his debut. That's a debut. This was, to me, Agassi Sampras. This was Federal Nadal. It was back and forth, and I really love seeing that. One got it right, another one got it right. I mean, 5-3, and then 2-1, and or 4-2 with steals. I mean, everybody, like, there was nothing left. There was no goose eggs. There was, like, besides the last the question he didn't have to answer, but there was truly nothing like that I could see that is negative. I mean, I really don't, except obviously that last question that Sneider didn't get. I know he must be disappointed, but not everybody can get all of them. However, he should not walk away with his head down. He should walk away with his head held high.
Not at all.
He has the championship coming up at the spectacular. He has the momentum going forward. Stuckmann, great debut, like I said, and it was a great back and forth matchup, and I really liked that he stuck to Tim Burton, and obviously that's a strength for me. But honestly, across the board, I really thoroughly enjoyed this, and I was almost about to say this week that I really enjoy the team matches better because a lot of the singles ones have been sort of disappointing after Andrenko and Bibiani, and now I can't say that. This was an awesome matchup. Two Titans, two guys with great strengths, not a lot of weaknesses, and you saw it. You saw back and forth that last round where it was 1 point here, 1 point here, back and forth. He had the lead. Then he had back and forth. It was literally, like I said, a nice tennis match with two equally strong competitors. And hats off to both of them. And Sneider, if you are listening, man, head up and move forward. You did a nice job. Yeah, one question got you. It happens to the best of you. So that's what I kind of thought of walking away from that.
Well, as the person on the panel that picked Jeff Sneider to win, Jeff, we're still best friends, so don't worry about that. You're welcome back on the show anytime. It was a great match. I mean, to sound even more cliche, it was like a chess match. Yeah, man. I mean, it was a great overall match. Can't really say more about it. I felt bad for Sneider because he looked like a dark cloud was hanging over him, like someone had hit his bumper in traffic or something. He just seemed like he was pissed off, and not like the good kind of pissed off where it makes you focused. It was kind of like the bad pissed off where you're like, I don't want to be here, so I'm just trying to get out of here as quick as possible. I don't know what happened. We can only speculate.
Yeah,
but
it did seem a little more JTE this year in singles and a little less Roca.
Yeah, usually when Jeff comes out, he's kind of got that demeanor of like, I don't care, like I'm the best, and he did throw that in there a couple times, but it just kind of seemed as the match went on, like he just did not. He wasn't into it, and that's fine. That happens. That happens to the best of us. That happens in sports all the time. So. No big deal there. I'm sure Jeff is going to be fine. I think Jeff is a top contender, and I think next year you'll see him in the Schmoedown the Ultimate Schmoedown tournament. I think he'll be contending for that singles title sooner rather than later. But, Stuckmann, very impressive. I also am a Stuckmann fan. I'm a subscriber. Seems like a good dude. Came in there with his knowledge, did just enough to win, and that's all you can ask for in the Schmoedown. A couple bullet points I did want to go over, though. In the opening promo video for Jeff Sneider, when they had all the tweets behind him, that was awesome. That was another great touch. I like seeing the tweets that were saying that Stuckmann needs to beat up Sneider. I really enjoyed that. That was great. Also, new category on the wheel, movie towns. Yeah. Let me get your guys' thoughts on that. Let me give you mine real quick. I think that category is weird, and to quote the horse from Ren and Stimpy, which Mark Ellis quotes a lot, no, sir, I don't like it. And I will kick it to you, Paul. What do you think of movie towns as a category?
I just think that's another category to challenge the competitors because we have heard many times on how it's repetitive, how we hear the same. We even said it. We said the first round, we hear almost the exact same categories. So we got to see 70s added onto there, and now we have movie towns. And besides saying either Los Angeles or New York for most of them, you can easily, yeah, 50-50 there. But other than, I mean, it could be anything. I mean, I really kind of enjoy any new categories that come up to freshen up the league. And you might say you might not like it, but I think it's challenging for those competitors because we are seeing the same things over and over again. And the more we progress, the more knowledge they're going to gain and practice those categories that we know are on the wheel. So having that as a category, I really like it.
All right, fine, fair enough. I guess I was being a contrarian, which is it's fine. There it is. Chris, what did you think? What do you think of movie towns as a category?
On the one hand, I'm actually with you, Aaron. I don't like it. However,
damn,
There is, I think, a great way to meet in the middle on this one.
Okay.
To be honest, what you could do is maybe in the future...
St. Louis questions?
Yes, exactly.
Sorry.
That was a Midwest joke for all you kids out there. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. What I was actually going to say is maybe next time you're in contact with Skaliski, what you might want to do is suggest to him, do movie geography, and have that be a first round. That way, you're not just doing towns. Like maybe you can include a state, or if you're doing like Star Wars, you do a planet. Or I think there is a way to make this a little more interesting. That's just me though.
Skaliski, I'm going to get close to the mic on this one. What are you doing to me, man? I'm going to scoot back now, but like, I'm glad that it's there. Like Paul, you made a great point. You kind of changed my mind on it. That it's a great competitive category, and the more competition, the broader knowledge you have to have, the better it's going to be for everybody. So to your point there, I get it. But where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line on movie towns? Like if I say Orlando Bloom and Kirsten Dunst were in this crappy Cameron Crowe movie, the answer would be it took place in Elizabethtown. That's the name of the movie. But if I said Superman lives here, it'd be Metropolis. But is that a real town? Does that count? I don't know. So, Skaliski, you're going to have to get back to me on that one for sure, because I needed some clarification on movie towns. But, yeah, Paul, I think you really turned me around on that. And at first, I was like, ugh, and I don't like it. But now I'm kind of changing my mind. So good for you, sir. All right. That's wonderful.
I was going to say, that doesn't happen often, does it?
No, it really doesn't. We just disagree all the time. And I swear, like, off air, I'm just yelling the whole time. like you just don't hear me, but I'm just seriously yelling all the time. Back to tag team action this week for the previews. We have the number 5 ranked team, Team 6 Degrees, Brianne and Stacy, taking on the number 4 ranked team of Team Trek, Scott the Movie Mance, and Jason Inman. 6 Degrees defeated the Wangers in their last match, 17-15, and Team Trek defeated Superhero News, 18-16 in their last match. So those are both pretty high point totals for teams, which should tell you how close this match probably will be. There are stakes for this match. Not only can a team get up in the rankings here and get closer to a title shot, the winner of this match will get into the Schmoedown Spectacular on the 23rd to take on Team ETC of Ricky and Elliot. Paul, I'm going to kick it to you first. Who do you like? 6 Degrees, Team Trek, who you got?
This is another potential back and forth that could be another good match. As annoying as the references are to Star Trek, almost every other second between those two. Gosh, it's tough because I fell for 6 Degrees. I fell for Brianna and Stacy as soon as they had their first match. I think that was the Wangers. They played the first match as well, and just kind of beat them. And so, it's going to be one of those tough ones. I see Trek eking out a victory on this one, just based on experience alone. I think I'm going Team Trek, but just barely.
All right, it's one on the board for Team Trek. Chris, what are you thinking? Who you got?
Well, I've got Team Trek also, but for slightly different reasons. If we were going to say who is going to win simply based off of the team chemistry, well then, by God, it's 6 Degrees, because they work so perfectly together. Team Trek, unfortunately, in their first match, I was not feeling that between them. But if we're going off of experience and knowledge of films, well, Christ, there's a reason that they call him Movie Mance.
True.
I have to give it a Trek. I have
to. All right, another on the board for Team Trek. My take. I think 6 Degrees works great as a team. I think Brianna and Stacy, they do the podcast together. They have a great rapport. They bounce off of each other very well. They collaborate very well. You saw it in the last match against the Wangers. Controversial questions aside about a bolt gun. On this show, we've already discussed it. We've already put to bed that answer was correct, so lay off. I think they work great as a team. I really do. Go back and watch the Wangers match. Watch how many questions they collaborate on. And that's great teamwork. Now, on the other side, you look at Team Trek, Scott Mance and Jason Inman, great singles players in their own right, but it all comes down to if Jason Inman can control the Mance Man. Because Scott Mance tends to get a little out there. He tends to get a little wild, if you will. That's why they call him the Mance Man. Inman can keep him focused. And Team Trek can stay on a straight and narrow line here against 6 Degrees. I think it's going to be a very tight match. I think a lot of people are going to discount Brianna Stacey, and you're wrong for doing that. I'm taking Team 6 Degrees. I think they work better as a team. I think they have a more broad knowledge of film, dare I say. I know Scott Mance has a lot of knowledge, as does Jason Inman, but I think they're have the age advantage of being younger, and the advantage of, on a weekly basis, talking about these different films. I give the nod to Team 6 Degrees. I want to see them in the Spectacular taking on Ricky and Elliot and Team ETC, and dare I say, beating them. The second match this week, huge match. It is the Wild Man, Josh Macuga, taking on Kristian Harloff in their second go-around. Before we get to the preview, before we discuss the history and what's happened, let's take a special look at Harloff versus Macuga.
Please welcome to the cage, Josh, the Wild Man, Macuga!
Finally, Darth Harloff has come back to Schmoedown.
Yeah.
Which Disney film features the blue fairy granting a wish?
Well, Sleeping Beauty. There is a blue fairy, so there absolutely is a blue fairy giving a wish.
I don't know if there's a blue fairy
but she's
or
not known as the Blue Fairy.
But if you want Cinderella, is Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. There's two.
The answer was Pinocchio.
The Blue Fairy.
Yeah.
But that's a loaded question. I'm going to call that controversy.
Controversy.
Well, we're off to a rocking start here.
Okay.
I don't know if I've ever felt anything like this before in this tournament.
No, me neither.
Okay. In gangster movies, what actor starred opposite Marlon Brando in the mafia comedy The Freshman? You are losing right now, so you are going to answer first. How many points did you bet?
5.
I like the balls on the Rock/Kristian Harloff. Your answer.
Matthew Broderick.
Give him the points!
Yay!
Give him the
Oh
points!
my God.
Give him the points!
I bet 6, Matthew Broderick.
I've never even heard of the movie. I swear to God.
I do not believe
I swear to God.
what just happened here.
How would you get
Kristian Harloff.
Love to see Mark Ellis really just take on Dan Merlin and bring that belt back to Collider.
Well, things aren't over for you right now. You got someone challenging you, and I think it's going to happen right now. Are you ready for it? I don't know. Let's see who we have here.
It's been a long time coming. I have been waiting and waiting for you to lose, and you finally lost, and you lost to Mark Ellis. I am going on my Lost Avenge tour, and it's got to start with you. That Blue Fairy thing has got to go. Matthew Broderick can go F himself. It is time to avenge it. You're my buddy. You're in my stable. I'm taking it back. I'm taking it back.
I'm not scared.
So you accept?
Absolutely 100%. Wait.
There you go. It's on. So get ready, pal. Get your second loss right in a row.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Let's get ready to rumble indeed. It is the number 7 ranked contender, Kristian Darth Harloff Minor Harloff versus number 4, Josh the Wild Man Macuga, in what promises to be an epic rematch, showdown, Schmoedown, call it whatever you want. It's going to be an amazing matchup. Harloff looking for revenge. You just heard the recap of the Blue Fairy incident, the Matthew Broderick question, and the new challenge that Harloff made to Macuga. But something I didn't go over in that is there could be some controversy from the last match. If you go back, and I encourage you to, the first Harloff-Macuga match at 16:44, started there, maybe a couple seconds before that. If you listen very closely to Mark Riley, who is over Josh Macuga's shoulder while the Matthew Broderick question is being asked, he kind of puts his hands up like, how do you not know this answer? And he may or may not have blurted out Broderick. Now, I personally have isolated the sound because I have nothing else to do with my life. And I've listened to it a couple of times, probably a handful of times. I've watched it a handful of times. And I think that, I'm not judging Mark Riley. I'm not passing any kind of judgment. I think that he might have accidentally slipped and said Broderick. I'm going to play the clip. You guys can listen to it for yourself and make up your own mind. So let's listen to that clip right now.
Marlon Brando
Do you know that?
in the Mafia comedy, The Freshman.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to give you it looked like Kristian wrote down something. He
Yeah.
might have just written down Blue Fairy.
What do you guys think? It's a short clip. Rewind it and replay it as many times as you need to make your conclusion. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think that Mark Riley accidentally may have said the word Broderick? And do you think that there is some controversy there? Or since it's in the record books as a win for Macuga, we just don't worry about it? Either way, just go ahead and leave a comment of what you think. Do we have some controversy, Paul? What do you think of this?
Well, coming from Josh himself, as soon as we started talking about that, I messaged him and on Facebook and said, did you actually hear Riley whisper that when he was standing right next to you? And that's been the topic at hand. And his reply was, apparently he whispered it, and he said it was hard to hear. And Kristian actually has done what you did too, and he said he slowed it down just like the CIA would, and apparently he did. But Macuga claims he got the answer by guessing. That's what he said. He said he guessed because
Of course.
Alicia was wearing the Save Ferris shirt, and that got him thinking of Matthew Broderick. So he didn't hear it, and if I'm being quite honest with you, it might be my speakers, it might be the laptop I watched it on, but I didn't hear it myself because Mark Ellis was talking over a lot of different spots, and I listened to it 6 or 7 times, and I still didn't hear it. So again, or it's my age and I can't hear anymore. One of the I don't know what it is, but on my side, if you heard it because you slowed it down, I would love to hear that too, and can't wait to hear that. But I personally didn't, so I'm here shrugging my shoulders, just kind of, wondering what's going to happen next.
All right, Chris, as an outsider that didn't get in on this conversation between Paul and I, what do you think of do we have controversy here? Have you heard of such a thing? Do you think that there's a problem? What do you think?
It's kind of funny that we're talking about this because in one of my many jobs, I'm a songwriter and audio engineer by trade. And
Interesting.
One of the things that I actually did when you suggested to give this match a listen before we did the show, but I did actually try to strip the audio track and try to, actually remove some of the background stuff so that way I could tell if that was actually the case. Now, because I didn't give it the fully thorough diagnostic, I actually didn't hear much anything. So there is some validity, at least from what I found in my home studio, that it's quite possible that Macuga actually was telling the truth the whole time, and that Riley maybe he mouthed it, and maybe just a little bit of audible words came out, but it didn't seem like it.
And I don't want people to think that I'm calling Macuga a liar because, I don't think he's lying about that. I think he probably did look at Alicia's shirt, and that's all that popped into his head was Matthew Broderick. That's understandable. I get that.
Well, plus he, and I quote, as he said later on after the win, I was thinking about who was the king of the 80s, and that was Matthew Broderick. That's his own words, which is kind of true.
Harloff is on his revenge tour. Macuga's the first. What do we think about it? I want to go round table. Chris, Harloff, Macuga 2. Who you got?
Well, seeing as how this time, let's say on the wheel, Harloff can somehow spin Star Wars, provided that's one of the categories. I doubt there's going to be a bunch of impromptu questions this time around that Ken will pull out of his ass, with all due respect to how that match went. But here's the thing. I see Harloff taking the first round and ultimately winning in the third round, but the thing with Macuga, you can't count him out. I see that wheel being Lady Luck, as always, for him. So I see this being a very close match, literally 1 to 2 points, but Harloff, I see taking the win.
Paul, what do you got, man? What do you got for me?
You know, rewatching that a couple times today, I really, first of all, this does kind of fit into our show, but look how far they've come in the actual show itself. Just watching how, where they were located and how the match was going on, and just on the couch with with picking out of a bag for the questions and things like that. And I actually did kind of point out an error. I don't know if they covered this with the name of Sleeping Beauty, Rose, but they said Rose was the answer. Her name was Briar Rose, and that was actually the name that Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather, the blue fairy out of that group, named her to hide from the Evil Queen in that movie. Maleficent, thank you, yes.
Horrible movie.
Well, that movie, actually, my kids kind of like it, because it's a cool little twist on it. But I think, did I just mute it myself? No, I did not mute myself. There we go. Sorry about that. My volume changed on my thing here.
How dare you?
Sorry. But I did notice that was there was an error there. But seeing where they were to where they are now is just a testament to them on how they've just gained in popularity. And, hats off to Mark and to Kristian on how they've turned that type of just a fun little game into something. I mean, we're doing a podcast about them, for God's sakes. I mean, wow. I mean, that in a million years, I don't think he would have even thought of that. Now, with all of that out of the way, my prediction, I've seen it before where Kristian has said an answer and meant to say something else and didn't mean to say it and meant to say a different thing. Mm-hmm. And taking his time on something, I really think it's going to be controversial, but I feel the Revenge Tour ends with this match. I think Macuga is going to guess his way once again to a victory. And I've been wrong before, but that again, the wheel does change a lot of things in the matches. But I think Macuga might get that, might squeak out it once again and end the tour abruptly. So I actually am going with Macuga on this one.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but Kristian signs the checks, man. So
you're getting paid? What? Damn!
What? Macuga's no joke. He beat Clark Wolf in the tournament. He's beaten big opponents. He's gone to the wire with John Roca. He's gone to the wire with Ellis. He's beaten JTE. Macuga is a good player. I think he gets overshadowed by the guessing that he likes to do and some of his antics. Wild man got a wild man. It's fine. Can he focus enough to beat Kristian, who is on an absolute mission of destruction, to beat Josh Macuga, to get the monkey off of his back? Personally, I'm taking the boss, Kristian Harloff. I think that he's coming in focused, he's coming in ready, and if he doesn't pull this off, this could be the last time that we see him in singles competition. He's been teasing that he will retire if he does not beat Macuga. I don't want to see that. I like to see Harloff compete. I like to see him come out there with his, impressions of The Rock and the different things that he does. And since the Schmoes team has taken a break, I want to see Harloff in singles action. I think down the road, I think we all want to see that epic battle between Ellis and Harloff. That would be amazing. But I'm taking the boss, and not just because he signs the checks. I think he's gonna win. I think he needs to win. I think that Harloff needs this win more than Macuga.
So we've got 2 Harloff, 1 Macuga. What do you think? Comments below. Would love to hear them. All right, guys, that's going to do it for episode number 12 of the Schmoedown Rundown. 12 in the books. But before we go, have to ask a favor of you guys. I need you guys to give this video a thumbs up, comment on YouTube, comment on iTunes, follow the SK Podcast channel. That's where you get all these great shows. Our show, the Schmoedown Rundown. You get the Schmoeville After Show, JTE Movie Thinks, the Wenger Show. You get all kinds of behind-the-scenes stuff that's going on with the live show. Anything you could ever want. Just subscribe to the SK Podcast channel on YouTube, iTunes, or wherever you can find a podcast. Also, you know how a couple weeks ago we were teasing this thing of, oh, we're going to do the Schmoedown Rundown live for the Schmoedown Spectacular. It's happening. It is legitimately happening, and we have a date. Wednesday, December 21st. We will be live. Now, I don't have a time yet because we haven't really knocked that down yet, but we will be live. It'll be Paul, myself, and maybe some other people that I can't tell you about right now sneaking in there. So we'll just, keep your eyes peeled for that, for any kind of updates. We will be live Wednesday, the 21st, previewing nothing but the Schmoedown Spectacular. So next week, it's going to be a shorter show because we're saving the big Schmoedown Spectacular preview for Wednesday. So definitely check that out. It's probably going to be longer than our normal show. It'll probably go for a couple of hours or until we get tired and run out of beer. All right. My name is Aaron. You can find me, as always, on Twitter at ATTitanium, where I make random tweets that get retweeted by Wesley Snipes, and it's pretty awesome. Paul, where can you be found online, sir?
Well, if I'm not on the Facebook page for Schmoeville and all of the other Schmoes-related sites that we have on Facebook, you'll find me on Twitter at the Mr. Wolf. That's TheMrWuLFF, and on Instagram at the Mr. Wolf 12.
Lovely. And Chris Dohmen, our special guest panelist, sir, where can they find you, and what do you have going on, sir?
You guys can find me on Twitter at my band, Last Shot at Redemption, at LSARBandMN. And you can actually find me, again, in the Schmoeville groups, as well as one of the heads of the Fan Movie Trivia Schmoedown League.
There you go. Get on that. If you want to compete in a fan version of the Schmoedown, hit up that page.
In fact, speaking of, our host right here, Mr. Aaron Turner, does have a match against Mr. Frank Janish coming up in February. Make sure you check it out.
I love Frank, so it's kind of be like Sam Witwer and Freddie Prinze Jr., where I don't want to beat my friend, but I will. So, all right, guys, it is the Schmoedown Rundown. We will see you next week. Take care.